At the edge of Death Valley sits a series of canyons so hostile, so remote, that few people have ever set foot inside them.
My confidence that I had has eroded.
Mostly barren, they rise thousands of feet out of the valley floor, creating steep cliffs with no roads, no trails, and no help if something goes wrong.
There's places where I couldn't even stand up. I just kept falling and falling.
Yet 150 years ago, miners carved their way into these canyons in search of gold. Some didn't make it, but those who did pulled an estimated 38,000 ounces of gold out. Then the rush ended. The mines were abandoned, the camps emptied, and this area was mostly forgotten. But buried in an old trail report, I found a single reference to something that might still remain. A stamp mill, hidden deep in the least explored canyon in the entire range. No photos, no map, no record of whether it's still standing or what became of the mine that it once served. So today, I'm going to try to find it, to hike into one of the most remote canyons on the edge of Death Valley and see what's still out there.
So right now we are in the Inyo Mountains in California, and the Inyos sit between Saline Valley, which is part of Death Valley National Park that you can see down there, and Owens Valley, which is over that ridge you can't see where Mount Whitney is and other stuff like that. And just past this mountain range on the other side of the valley is the Sierra Nevada, which is a very popular mountain range. This mountain range is the Inyos, and it is far less popular and far more rugged than the Sierras. There's less vegetation over here, there's less water, and there's way less people. And this mountain range just over there is Cerro Gordo, which is the abandoned mining town that I live in. And I love hiking the Inyos because they're often ignored, they're more rugged, but it truly feels like a sense of adventure. You're not going to be trekking through a trail that 20 other people had done that day. I've never run into anybody in the Inyos on a hike. So Craig Canyon, the canyon that's just to my left and the one that hopefully has the stamp mill in it, starts at almost 9,000 feet in elevation and exits in Saline Valley at about 1,000 feet. And throughout that, there's apparently 10 waterfalls, some of which being 150 feet tall and requiring a lot of rappels in these slot canyons. And it reminds me a lot of this canyon just over called McElvoy Canyon, which I once went down and swore I would never go into it again. And the stamp mill in the canyon is supposedly around 5,000 feet in elevation. And so my plan today, my hope, is to hug the ridge line above Craig Canyon and drop in right to where the mill would be around 5,000 feet to avoid having to do a lot of rappelling and dealing with all the stinging nettle bushes that I've heard about. It's not going to be an exact science because you're kind of trying to triangulate from the ridge. Also, I don't know exactly the route down from the ridge, but that's the plan. A stamp mill exists to service a mine, and the reason the stamp mills are at the bottom of the canyons is because the bottom of the canyons around here are the only place where there's running water. Now, they were willing to take the ore a long ways to get it to these stamp mills. So oftentimes up on these ridges, as it was in Beveridge, Keenot, and some other canyons around here, the mine will be on the ridge and the stamp mill will be down in the canyon below, behind that ridge. And What we're trying to do now is hopefully come to a mine. I saw in the trail report that there was a brief mention of a mine, and if I looked at the old USGS maps, it shows a mine on this ridge. And so hopefully if we find this mine, it'll give me a little bit more confidence that we're gonna be able to find this stamp mill below and that it all exists. Now this is interesting. So, in the desert, you're looking for things that don't necessarily make sense. Straight lines or circles. And if you look here, there's a really faint ring of circles. And I think this could be a few things. One, it could be an arastra, which was used to grind up ore, where they would put ore in the middle and drag a heavy stone around to grind up the ore. This could also be kind of a grain storage for the population before this was mining territory, the Paiute and the Shoshone. I've seen these at different areas, but the fact that we're seeing this makes me feel that we're getting closer to something. Whew! That's cool. Man, this is hard. Oh, look beyond it too. You can see the Saline Valley Salt Tram just beyond it. What an epic place. Wow. And the other thing you have to do is you have to put together context clues. And the ridge, oh, just fell. The ridge I just came down, there's no semblance of a road that would have brought materials there. So if they didn't bring it from above, all this material, the only other place they could bring it is from below in Saline Valley. And so I think that all of this, I mean, maybe not, maybe they didn't even bring it from down there, maybe they just made it up here. These look like kind of logs that they found here and used rocks, but they obviously brought in a stove. Okay, this is a little more exciting because this is at least something. Now, we still have to try to find some trail down into the canyon, which could be a whole nother fiasco, but we at least see signs of miners, which would have also made the stamp mill that we're gonna go into. So don't know that anybody's been in here in quite some time, but still got the cooking utensils, just the determination of some people, huh? And miners back in the day. Cooking pans, pots, pans. So I'm pretty stumped. I read in the trail report that there's a faint trail starting towards Craig Canyon, but I can't find it. And now I'm on this ridge, but if you look behind me, that ridge right there, I need to go behind that. So I don't want to drop down this to then have to go back over that to get into the canyon that's beyond that. So do I need to go back up to the highest point and try to take that ridge as low as I can go before the really steep drop into the canyon? My confidence that I had when I saw the names scratched in has eroded, and now I can't see any faint trail. I've been scrambling around, and it seems like I found the mine, at least, that they were mining. So maybe this will lead me to the trail that was being discussed. So far I'm striking out, and again, I don't want to go that way. And the mill should be almost straight that way, because that's where Craig Canyon Basin is, around 5,000 feet. Oh, now I know what they're mining out here. If you see this, ooh, that's heavy. And it's oxidized right now, but if you were to smash this, Glitter City. It's galena. Same stuff that built Cerro Gordo. A lead ore that has silver in it. There's a bunch of it up here. All right, I've made my decision. I am not going to go that way, even though the USGS says that there's prospects that way, and it says that, so maybe then theoretically there would be a trail, right, that would go back that way, but I just don't want to go back up this And so I'm going to try to choose to go on this ridge line. So the mine is now back on the top of that mountain, and that was the ridge that I chose not to take, and I'm on the ridge that I chose to take. Still no signs of anything, but I'm gonna go up to the very peak up here, see if maybe I can scout a trail, any straight lines, or at the very least take a little break. But that was some serious scree surfing back there. Ooh, that looks intimidating. Down into Craig Canyon. So you can start to see some of the vegetation down there in Craig Canyon, and that's a good and a bad thing. That stuff can be willow, wild rose, and stinging nettles from wall to wall, and it's just impenetrable thicket. I ran into that before. And so that's why it's so important where I intersect the floor of the canyon. I don't want to intersect it where the narrows are. That's where it would be a really steep slot canyon. And I don't necessarily want to intersect it where I have to walk through a mile of stinging nettles. So I'm really trying to triangulate, dropping in right around 4,950 feet in elevation, because that's what the report said was where the mill is. That rock over there is terrifying. It gets just impossibly steep. So I don't really want to get anywhere near that. I had a little slip and my knee got tweaked a little bit. And I'm about 1,000 feet in elevation above my target. I can see it. And it's less than a mile away. And obviously I have a couple thousand feet up. So neither seems like a very good option right now with this tweaked knee. So I'm trying to just sit here and think about what I want to do. The benefit of getting to the bottom is I get to see what I came here to see. There's water down there, which can't be discounted as a benefit. But it is another 1,000 feet down and 1,000 feet up that I have to do today. The alternative is I come back another time and try it again. No great option, just kind of sitting here weighing them both. It's right there, but my knee is just not doing it today. So I think unfortunately I'll have to pick this up in a part 2, because I'm not making it today. I just went down another 500 feet in elevation, and my knee is screaming at me, and got quite a ways to go back up to the ridge up there, and my vehicle is way over there somewhere. That's a bummer. Climbing out of this canyon is no joke. It's like 4,000 feet of scree, loose rock that you're scrambling up. And luckily, something that I have with me everywhere, whether I'm exploring mines or scrambling up scree, is Element. This is an electrolyte mix that's just sodium, potassium, and magnesium. You take this, put it in a pouch, shake it up, you're good to go. It doesn't have sugar or any of those dodgy ingredients that some other sports drinks have. And with this, I don't get the dehydration cramps, the fatigue, the brain fog, all that type of stuff. And if you're out there and you want to give it a shot, they're giving away a free sample pack with any purchase. All you have to do is go to drinklmnt.com/Brent, so drinkelement.com/Brent, and they will hook that up. It's amazing. I've been using it for 5 years on the craziest hikes. I hope you check it out. Here we go again. Back at it. And now we're back to the Trepier mine. And I did some research since I was here last, trying to figure out some more clues when it comes to the trail. And I found a newspaper article from 1894 that a guy named Victor Trepier walked into Lone Pine to get supplies, and he reported that he had 3 ounces of gold recently, and he had gotten 13 ounces of gold out of the claim. And he was doing some pocket mining. He had found a pocket, and this is where that pocket would have been. And 3 ounces would have been about $15,000 in today's money. And the interesting part is I dove deeper and deeper trying to connect the Trepier mine to the Craig Canyon mill. And there's the one trail report that does, but there's no original documentation outside of, I found a very obscure U.S. Bureau of Mines report that briefly mentions the Craig Canyon mill. And it says that the Craig Canyon mill was built in the 1800s to service ore from the American Flag mine. And if you start going down the rabbit hole of the American Flag mine, it is not the mine that Victor Trepier found, which I thought maybe there was just a naming discrepancy over the years. It seems like it's one that's relatively close that was actually bigger. And looking around on the map, the only thing that's around here that I think could be the American Flag is these prospects that are on an old USGS map down the ridge below. And remember last time I was here, I chose to go to the left instead of to the right to some prospects. Now I'm wondering if those prospects were the American Flag mine. And in that case, that's where the real established trail down into Craig Canyon would be, because that's where the main mill was happening. This is a mine that did something like 200 ounces of gold and 500 ounces of silver, which if gold is $5,000 an ounce, that's what, about $1 million worth of gold and maybe $70,000, $80,000 worth of silver. So productive, yes, but not the boom that some of these mines were. And so today, as much as it was not my instinct the first time, I'm not going to go to this left ridge. I'm going to stay on this right ridge and try to find those prospects and see if those prospects were the American Flag mines, and if so, if there's a more clearly established trail down to where I was last time. Well, after a whole lot of slipping and sliding, I'm seeing some cuts in the face of this mountain. So I think we're 2 prospects, and I gotta tell you, I've been to some remote mines, but this one is one of the more difficult ones I can imagine to get to. There's just no reason to come here. You can see they're working that cut. Oh, there's a box. Oh, what have we got? Oh man, Science of Life JS. I'm almost nervous to go in. Got some boots. Anything in the box? Come on, something be in the box. Oh, nothing in the box. Oh my God. Gasoline. I didn't know I'd be getting a mine exploration today. Oh, EBH. Keeler, California. I wonder if that's Hunter. It was William Hunter, but Hunter is the one that discovered this whole district. We're in what's known as the Beverage District. And it was set up by Hunter and eventually became what they called one of the most prospected parts of the United States with over 1,000 claims. And they pulled 38,000 ounces of gold out of this area, which is like worth 190 million. And it's best known for being really rugged and remote. And Hunter still has a cabin at Cerro Gordo. There's some newspaper down here. And the font looks like the really old font. Let me see if I can get a date. 1911. 115 years ago. And then there's some interesting articles that I'm going to try to find when I get out of here. One says, charge of harbor, Don Fugit assumes duty at Los Angeles port. See if I can find that one. There's another one that was talking about some stolen silver or something. Said on the way out, there's some this boot still here. Down at the lower workings, they got an anvil. Imagine trudging that thing in here. I'm having a hard enough time just with my pack. Then you have a hand steel. So this would have been used up against the rock. Chisel, chisel, chisel. Put in some dynamite. Blow it up. And this appears to be the vein they were following. That quartz vein you can see right there. Because again, this was a gold mining district. So I imagine they're looking for gold in that quartz. And they poked it in a little bit over here too. So we'll go back in here at least. There's the big hanging quartz vein. Oh my God. Is that free gold right there? I think that's pyrite, but something is very shiny right there. Maybe that's what got them so excited. Whoa. More of a substantial working back here. Let's look for more clues. Any names? Can't see. You know what this is? This is a stamp. This is a stamp from a mill used to smash the ore. This thing is so heavy. And so they have a stamp up here. I wonder if they had a little one stamp mill here. Or if this is part of the one from down in the canyon. More hand steels, blasting caps. Really cool old cribbing. This is a substantial mine. All right, that motivated me. That was cool. Seeing that little stamp just gave me hope that they had to have been getting here to some type of water source given the size of this operation. So they had to at some point been making their way into Craig Canyon, not in the narrows, probably around the flat spot where this mill is. So I'm just gonna scramble, hopefully find something. But I think this detour going to the right this time paid off. Well, there's the prospects. I was kind of just guessing across all this. And look at this. We have habitation of some type. Any sign of human is a very welcome sight to me. So they were at least getting over to here. This is quite the impressive structure made out of stone. You even got your old griddle. Wow. Another one right next to it. So I'm hoping I maybe even see a faint trail up that ridge, which would get me back to kind of where I was last time. Unless there's one that way too. But any signs of humans gives me comfort because last time I wasn't seeing anything. Oh boy. That is scary. Well, this is that little mine that I turned around at last time. We're down about 4,000 feet, 1,000 feet to go. So I guess I'm turning back now. Now, just put my pole down on the first rattlesnake of the day. That'll get your blood moving. I remember reading these old trail reports. They said rattlesnakes and even a mountain lion. Whew, that was freaky. Well, lower we go. Tell you what, I've been up and down some steep washes, but that was about as steep as it gets. There's places where I couldn't even stand up. I just kept falling and falling, and all I kept thinking is, man, I gotta go back up this. It might be on my hands and knees while I'm going back up that. But we should be close. I'm in this little tributary wash now, and I'm hoping that this doesn't have a waterfall to get into the bowl that they discuss that has the stamp mill in it. No way the miners took this way, so I'm hoping that from down inside of the bowl I can look at the ridges and find the trail that they might have taken. But for right now, let's see if we can get into this bowl and see what we came to see. Oh no! I'm trying to hug the ridge because you can already see it's getting really steep and gnarly down there. I can hear the water, so I'm hoping to stay on this ridge and then drop in. So I don't have to deal with any little dry waterfalls down there, but not easy going. Again, I'm hoping that when I look up afterwards, some trail reveals itself. Woo, woo, woo. Here's our first look. Oh man, you can see right there, it gets really, really narrow. Slot Canyon. So it's supposed to be right above it, so maybe in this area? A lot of overgrowth, so maybe finding this thing is gonna be of an adventure, but we're down in here, that's for sure. Nothing yet. That'd be rather anticlimactic, wouldn't it? If there's no stamp mill anymore, it got washed away. Ooh, we may be onto something. Just something. Not a stamp mill yet, but I see signs of humans, which I hadn't seen. Oh my God. Got some tins. Some old cribbing. Come on, where's your stamp mill, baby? Well, there's some pieces of a stamp mill. Don't love to see that. Haven't found the mill yet. It might be down right by the water, so I'll have to go through this thicket. Well, here it is. Oh man, this is perfect. This is the stamp mill that all this trekking was for. There's no photos in that report from '92, and 34 years made a difference on this thing. This is all she's got left. That's why I feel like it's so important to go out and see these things, because in another 34 years, there's not going to be much left at all. But this is what processed all that ore that was coming down off the mountain. These would spin. You got a belt there, belt there. These would go up, flip these, that would push down on the stamps down there. Those will go up and down, smash the ore. And this is your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stamp mill here in Craig Canyon. Woo! That feels good to have at least gotten down here. You might be thinking, how did they even get this thing down here to begin with? And from my understanding, that was another feat of William Hunter from Cerro Gordo. They would bring it up to New York Butte, which is where I started up there a ways, and then they would build sleds and actually bring them down on sleds. I guess these big wheels were the hardest part of it. This is what it was all about. All that work to get to the water. You just can't appreciate how important water is until you don't have it. Men were willing to scramble from way above that down here just to use it. I'm right now trying to drill a well back at Cerro Gordo. And so if you're somewhere where you have water plentiful, don't take it for granted. Out here in the desert, it's big business. As Mark Twain said, whiskey's for drinking, water's for fighting over. This is a good sign for me. That means I can fill up all my water bottles. It's crazy too, think about it. Mile or two that way, Death Valley National Park. Continuous year-round stream just like this. So I know there's water in these mountains. I need some for Cerro Gordo. Well, you know what? I'm pretty happy with this. It's not as dramatic as maybe some of the other canyons around here, but it just felt like a true adventure. Like I said, these mountains, the Inyo Mountains, still feel wild in a way that few places do in the United States. I was looking at the report that was talking about this mill, and it was saying that the trails were made in the 1880s and they weren't maintained past 1908. You know, obviously the one mine had 1911, and so some after that, but for over 100 years these trails haven't been maintained. And I just love the idea of seeing a little lead in a trail report from 40 years ago and following it and finding it. This is something that I wasn't able to do probably 6 years ago when I moved to Cerro Gordo. And so I feel good about the ability to do that now. And I really appreciate you guys taking the time to follow along. I like showing this part of the country because I think the history here is important, and it's important to preserve it however we can. As we see in another 30 years, this might not be here at all. So appreciate you guys following along on this one. The real challenge is ahead, and that's getting out of this canyon. So I'll try to show you a little bit of that, but I think next, let's do this canyon from top to bottom, get into some of these spectacular slot canyons that we're seeing. But that's gonna be another day. For now, I need to beat it if I'm gonna make it out of here before the sun sets. So thanks again. I'll be on another adventure soon.